Okay, Tuesday morning, coffee and questions. Got me coffee? Going to jump into the questions that you got here. A quick look. So first of all, okay, why do the exercises that you do seem to be more than a few seconds and you do them for 60 seconds, etc.? Right. Reason for that is, um, I say, when it comes to mobility and stability, what we're trying to work on. So you have the joint restriction or you have a tissue restriction. So say, for instance, if your arm doesn't move correctly in more than one plane of motion. So it doesn't move this way all the way, or that way all the way, or that way all the way, or that way all the way. It does more than one. It's most likely the joint that's the issue. If it's just one, so if this is fine, so say for instance, down is fine, flexion is fine, extension is fine, but this external rotation is tight, then it's more tissue. When we do the long, like you hold them for sort of 60 seconds, like sort of the 90-90-90 one, or anything like the L5S1 when you put your legs up the wall. What we're trying to do is we're trying to distract the joint and elongate the fascia. So you might think that it's just this muscle here that restricts that, which is obviously what we was told, that's what we're going to treat. But the fascia goes with it everywhere. You know, if you're trying to work on your hamstring, you don't just stretch your hamstring. Fascia goes to the bottom of your foot. So when we do these exercises, we want to elongate the fascia, distract the joint, and you want to hold it into a position, and you move through that range of motion, and that's why they're held for longer. Got to remember what we're trying to do is obviously you've got the Unbreakable does mobility, stability first, then you got strength, speed, and power. Now, if your level one screen isn't efficient for what you're trying to do in your golf swing, then we want to find out, is it joint or tissue that we need to fix? And then we need to focus on fixing that. And that's why you only have to do 15 minutes a day, because we focus on what it is that's the biggest issue that's holding back your golf swing at this moment, what it is in your body, and then we do that. Obviously, if you're doing fitness, so say for instance, you want to make a muscle bigger, that's when you would work in sets and reps and things like that. So, you know, you do 8 reps and you do 3 sets. Or if you're doing strength, you do 5 reps and you do 5 sets, something along the lines of that. But when it comes to fixing the body, when it comes to rehab, what we want to do is we want to get the joint or the fascia or the, not necessarily body part, but that area that moves. We want to get the movement back. And then that's why when we do the motor pattern learning, it's completely different to anything else that you would do with strength training or power training, because what you want to do is you want to find the right form of that movement. Once you find the right form of that movement, say for instance, if you're doing it laying down, then you want to have a feel. So when I do this, I feel this and I do it correctly. When I do this and I do it wrong, I feel that. And then you want to go through the developmental learning patterns. So you start on your back and then half kneeling, you know, like, quadruped and half kneeling and standing. So that's why a lot of the exercises are different. So the ones that you're going to hold for a long time, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, generally they're going to fall under the ability of distracting the joint and stretching the fascia. When we work on the power stuff, obviously your power exercises will be different, because what you're doing is you're trying to do certain action powerfully. So a power exercise wouldn't be a bench press trying to push as hard as you can. When we're working on power, what we're doing in the golf swing, we want to do something that we can move and implement, whether it be a medicine ball or a golf club or whatever it may be, or bands, or even what we do with suspension trainer. You want to do it powerfully. Yeah. So remember, it's mobility, stability first, and that's when you're going to hold them for 60 odd seconds, 30, 60 seconds. Then obviously you'll have motor pattern learning in between that. Then you have your strength and speed, and then you have your power. But that's why we hold them for longer periods. Next question. Okay, what's the biggest mistake you see when people do their own screens? They try and pass. So, like, say, our first level one screen, TPI level one I've done was back in 2012. I've done that at the Belfry. And what you do is everyone's trying to pass. So, think about everyone that's in the course at that time: golf pros, medical professionals, and fitness professionals. And everyone's trying to pass. The medical people want to pass, the fitness people want to pass, the golf pros want to pass. So, you would do a particular movement and you'd be like, it's nearly there. Yeah, you would give it to them. No. What you want to do is, well, no, it's either foul or pass. And then what you do is anything that you're better off saying you fail something and do an exercise that doesn't do anything. You know, you've covered that area, and and saying something's passed and you don't have an exercise to fix it or a program to fix it, and then you don't get better. So when golfers send me their screens, they will go, yeah, I've passed this, I've passed that, and then they won't notice certain things. So, well, you've done your external rotation on your arm, but you've leant back because you're trying to pass the test rather than test the movement. That's the one thing I notice more about when people send me their screens online. Toe touch. Why do we assess toe touch when you don't do it in your swing? Right. So let's go to the data first of all. If someone early extends, so if their hips move closer to the ball on the backswing or the downswing, so you go into the backswing, your hips move closer to the ball, or as you come into your downswing, your hips move closer to the ball. Data-wise, more people that early extend will have failed the toe touch. So it's a data issue as well. Plus also as well, if you can't touch your toes, and again, it's the motor pattern of touching your toes. So your hips go back and then you hinge from the hips. Your setup could be different. And if your setup's different and you more arch over, so you arch over this way with more rounded back, that's going to cause you to early extend a bit more on the backswing. And then anything that you're in the wrong position there, it's going to be difficult to come down. So it's more of a data thing. So it's not as though, well, I don't touch my toes in the golf. I don't touch my toes in the golf swing, so I don't need to pass the toe touch test. No, it's a pattern thing. Your hips need to go back. You need to be able to hinge from your hips well. And then just from a data point of view, people that can't touch their toes generally early extend. That doesn't mean that there's anyone out there that doesn't early extend, that can't touch their toes, but just obviously we're always looking at the data. Last one. Okay. Last one for today anyway. Right. What is the difference between older golfers, say 70, 80-year-olds, and the stuff you do with us? Right. If you go to, if anyone's ever heard of the FMS or SFMA, which is obviously what's included in what we do, there's a guy called Mike Boyle, he's like a strength coach. And he has a theory that for your age, that percentage of your program should be on mobility. So if you're an 80-year-old, 80% of your program should be mobility. And then you can do your strength and speed and power stuff on top. But 80% will be mobility. The reason for that is because you lose mobility as you get older. A lot of the time, it's not just lifestyle or age, it's a lack of movement. Like, say, with what we do with the 60-second stretches and holding them like rounded positions, we're distracting the joint and doing things like that. So that's how it would be more mobility based. But it is a case by case basis because there are some people, so imagine there'd be some 8-year-olds that don't do any fitness, have never done any fitness, that their mobility and stability is shot to bits, and that's where the focus needs to be. But there are other 8-year-olds that have played tennis, played golf, continue to go into the gym into their 80s and their version of gym, whatever it may be, and they'll have a underlying level of mobility and stability, and then it won't necessarily be that. But that would be what you would do. You would focus on that. It would still be the same screen. So I know if you're thinking about this for someone you know and all that lot, it would still be the same screen. We would still want to know if there's a pain marker, because obviously pain changes motor control. So if they've got pain doing a certain movement, we need to try and remove that pain first. But yeah, you still can work on street, still can work on speed, you can work on power. And also as well, it depends on what the goals are and the results they're trying to get. So a 40-year-old golfer, if I get them 5% increase on their hip internal rotation so they can load into that hip more, they will see more power. They will see a benefit. If someone's 80 and I give them 5% internal rotation more on their hip and they had none, they will feel like they're completely different. They feel like they have a new body because they've gone from 0 to 5% rather than, 38 to 43%, something like that. So yeah, with older golfers, still the same screen, still the same setup. We have the pain markers. If you're pain, you do the SFMA, and we check each joint individually, and we want to know where the cause of the pain rather than just the site of the pain. Anything for speed, power, and mobility, again, same unbreakable order. Mobility, stability first, get that, find out what a restriction is, try and fix that. Then strength, then speed, then power. But ultimately, it's on their goals. If someone doesn't want to put in 15 minutes a day to get better, and they want to put in 5 minutes a day or 30 seconds a day, and they're old and they're really sort of restricted in the chest, it could just be breathing. We'll focus on breathing. All right, coffee and questions done for Tuesday. Good luck. See you in the group.